Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Daily Message brought to you by Unity Clear Lake Center in Lower Lake, California. Today, we celebrate Good Friday, which is the day that Jesus was crucified. Fillmore calls this Jesus' final step, that his crucifixion was the final step in the work that he had been doing for 33 years. So what does crucifixion mean? The word crucifixion means the crossing out in consciousness of the limiting thoughts that have become fixed states of mind. It's the enactment by a master of the final extinction of human mind, and it's the giving up of the whole personality in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in his fullness. And this is what Jesus was doing on that Good Friday at the time of his crucifixion. Jesus was crucified on a hill called Golgotha, which is Aramaic for skull. It's also called Calvary, and it's a skull-shaped hill right outside of Jerusalem. Fillmore wrote that the final battle any one of us has is within our skull. All the thoughts that we hold in mind about anything and how it should be. It's where our ego resides, telling us what or should not be or what we should be saying or doing. And every time we give up any of these limiting thoughts, there is a crucifixion. And it is a crucifixion of our erroneous way of thinking. Joel Goldsmith wrote, "There is that in the human mind which does not wish to be extinguished. It is that something called I, the little I, the human I, which boasts of its power, its wisdom, its understanding, and its goodness. This I is unwilling to be extinguished. It does not want to say, 'Why call me good?' There is but one good, the Father in heaven. And this little I does not want to admit, 'I of mine own self can do nothing. The Father does the works.'" This is the little I, this little I. That's what must be crucified. That I of our human self. The 3 days Jesus was in the tomb represent 3 steps in overcoming our erroneous thinking. Today we're going to talk about the first step, and that is non-resistance. In Jesus' case, it was his giving himself up to God at the time of his death at the crucifixion. It was the giving up of the last residue of his little I. This is the part that Jesus, during his crucifixion, was giving up the last residue of his connection to his human self. Matthew 23, verse 46 reads, "Then Jesus called out with a loud voice, 'Father, into your hands I commit my spirit.' And it was at that moment that Jesus gave up the final residue of his humanness." Charles Fillmore wrote an affirmation in his book, Keep a True Lent. "I deny the self, that I may unite with the selfless. I give up the mortal, that I may attain the immortal. I dissolve the thought of the physical body, that I may realize the spiritual body." He writes that this is a mental process that we go through, and we have to go through it many times a day, but it does have a physical effect on our bodies. If we have developed the mind of spirit, we see and feel this awakening of the life energy at the very center of the atoms of our body. Fillmore writes that all spiritual concepts begin in the mind and are translated into the atomic life in the body. It's here that we have the point of contact between the life of Christ and the life of humankind. It also explains why our life as people was no longer receiving the energy flow from Source when we first were on this planet. Like the prodigal son, we had moved so far away from our connection with Source that we were starving for the divine substance and got no satisfaction at all out of what was happening around us. Because of the gulf between the mind of being, capital B, and the human mind that was connected with the senses, no divine life flow was happening. Then Jesus came in, became Christ incarnate in the flesh, and then used his body as a life or electrical transformer for humanity. When Jesus died, Fillmore writes, the atomic units of his body were sewn into the ethers as points of light and light in our mind and body. So anyone who concentrates his thoughts on the Christ within will attract these points of life and light to themselves. These Christ points of light, accepted by the individual, form the nucleus of a regenerated body for that person. So this is how our bodies can regenerate. Once again, it's setting time aside each day to sit in the presence of the Christ light that is available to all of us. You know, when we talk about the crucifixion, we talk about it in this dramatic way because when Jesus was crucified, he had nails put into him, he had a sword put up his side. But we don't have to crucify our little I in this hurtful and demanding way. We can take the little I of our being into our hearts and just love that part of us that is unwilling to release its hold on what it has done in this life. We could love that part of us into transmuting into the bigger I, the oneness with Source. Just sit in your quiet time. Think of all the things that you may have done that you still feel upset or angry or whatever about. And it's all those energies that we want to bring into our heart and just say, I love you to them over and over and over again. Fillmore used the Lord's Prayer as an example of our creating a fuller connection with Source at this time. I discussed this yesterday on how the disciples, by the time they said the Lord's Prayer over a person about the 15th time, how their bodies would start to release whatever was going on with them. But today I would like to read you the Lord's Prayer as we know it, and then an English translation of the same stanza from the original Aramaic. So you can just close your eyes. Our Father who art in heaven. O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Hallowed be thy name. Focus your light within us and make it useful as the rays of a beacon show the way. Thy kingdom come. Unite our I can to yours so that we may walk as kings and queens with every creature. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Create in me a divine cooperation from many selves, one voice, one action. Give us this day our daily bread. Grant that what we need each day in bread and insight. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Forgive our hidden past, the secret shames, as we consistently forgive what others hide. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. Deceived neither by the outer nor the inner, Free us to walk your path with joy. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. From you is born all ruling will, the power and the life to do, the song that beautifies all from age to age it renews. Amen. For those on our mailing list, I have included that in the body of the email I have sent. I invite you to use that prayer today to assist yourself in your own overcoming of the thoughts you hold in mind that are ready to be dissolved from your conscious mind. Thank you for joining us today. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Many blessings to each of you. And so it is.